And welcome back to the Real Teachers of Atlanta. I am Ty.
I'm Nikki.
I'm Joya.
Today we are going to be diving into why Black History Month is important in the schools.
It is very important.
Oh, you want to start it off, girl?
Y'all see the jacket? Y'all see the jacket? Let's get into it.
We got the queens in the house, y'all. Real teachers of Atlanta.
Hi, I'm Mrs. P. Smith, the Mama Bear at school, your favorite ELA and SPED teacher, but always teaching my students about business.
I'm Miss Rose, commonly known as the snarky teacher, always ready with the good candy. The kids say I'm their favorite math teacher. After school, it's lights, camera, action. During school hours, it's Miss Carter, the life science teacher saving lives.
We got the queens in the house, y'all. Real teachers of Atlanta.
Yeah, Black History is important to school. I think it does need to be taught in schools. I think it's good to know all sides of the history, but I do think it's very important for Black students to see themselves represented in their education and to know the truth about their history. I do.
Absolutely.
It should be more than just February, but I digress.
What is
Well, I think it's a fair
Right.
amount of time. I mean, because I think every heritage now is trying to do a month for us educational wise. Yes, we're Black History 365, 365 days in my opinion. But for, we can't go to school, of course, and talk about, unless you implement it in your coursework or your classroom assignments, but to cater to do special things, you have, Hispanic Heritage Month.
Sure.
You have Black History Month. What other months do we celebrate?
I know we have the not Polynesian, Pacific Islanders have a month.
And that's what I'm saying. I think schools are doing a good job. I think most schools, not all schools, celebrating Black History Month or other heritage. Has that been your experience, Ms.
Oh
Carter?
yeah, I've now they're pushing months for other groups of students that come from different cultures. Yeah.
You think that's the reason?
I think part of it. But why is it that Black History Month is the month that they add the extra school breaks though? I'm just curious.
I never thought about it.
I think
I noticed it.
Because school is so diverse. We have so many cultures and people that speak different languages. They want to include all students.
True. But why aren't there breaks in those months?
Well, you know.
Do you all think that so
We're gonna speed past that.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll on past that.
I made an observation.
let's actually
can take an
talk about
educated guess.
what Black History Month is, because I've sat in classrooms and instructed lessons where my students didn't even know who Nelson Mandela was. Okay. So let's just go ahead and dive into what Black History Month is. First, it started off in 1926 with Carter G. Woodson. He is the father, as we know it, of Black History Month.
Okay.
So initially, it was a week, and it was always the second week in February. Now we are up to a month. President Ford was the first president to nationally recognize Black History Month, and I think that was around like 1976 or something like that. I could be wrong, but he was the first president to actually recognize Black History Month as a month. And Kent University was the first college to actually put on a Black History program
That's cool.
Out of school after it had became a national month. Why do y'all know? I got to throw you a little bit of trivia.
Oh, Lord.
Do
Here we
you
go.
guys
Going back to
know
get another F.
first of all, why we celebrated in February and why it was the second week of February?
Nope.
Okay, so just to go back to what Black History Month was. So Carter G. Woodson wanted to bring light to, the Black community, our Black trailblazers.
Right.
And so February is the month that Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln, birthdays. Of course, Frederick Douglass' birthday is not registered, but we know he recognizes his birthday as February the 14th.
Right.
So these are two people that paid their dues in emancipating slaves. And so this is why we celebrate it in the month of February.
Okay.
Now that we got that out of the way, do you think that our kids today really recognize, really understand why we celebrate Black History Month?
No. I think that they think it's just something that's just a part of the curriculum during February. It's just something, there's a program, we learn about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, some like phenomenal, it's the same 4 people, phenomenal leaders, Rosa Parks.
The same people.
It's the same, leaders that have completely kicked down the door for us to have the things that we have today as far as us in this country, us fighting for our simple human rights in this country. But basics, I don't think that kids really understand, what the purpose of it is or what it really means. I think that Black history should be taught. It should just be something that's ingrained in the lessons that parents teach their students.
Yes.
When you look at other races, that's what they do. They don't wait for a month to really push the greatness of their people. It's every day. Monday through Sunday, or Monday through Friday, Monday through Sunday, there is no day off.
Yeah.
This is what it is every single day. But we've lost that, we've kind of lost that zest, I think, to as a whole.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that Black History Month should just be at the school for 1 month. It should be in the home.
I think you made a good point. And I was going to say the same thing is I think that, because I often think of when we have these conversations, I often reflect on myself as a parent, right? And my kids at home. And we have to do as parents a good job of instilling in our kids. And I feel like what happens is we get accustomed to it. I'm speaking as a parent. We get accustomed to saying my kids can get their education at school and really putting a lot of trust in a system, our public education system, to say they're going to educate my kids in a way that is wholesome and well-rounded, and they're not.
Right.
It's just that we have seen it. We're watching Florida literally try to dismantle and literally whitewash Black history. We're watching Texas do the same thing. Many other states have already done the same thing. There are only a couple of states that are being progressive about Black history and about the history of other nationalities in the U.S. But for us to kind of say, I'm just going to wait for my kids to go to school, and in February when they bring home that coloring sheet of Malcolm X one more time, or that coloring book, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King is the only people they
push
do.
Malcolm.
Malcolm was Malcolm X.
Not as much. You're right. Not as much.
at
But
all.
we definitely get that one coloring sheet with MLK's face in the front.
Oh,
Yeah, Rosa Parks. They
Which
make
is
it
fine.
Which,
but
right, none of those things are okay. Yeah, those things are great. Well, see, here in Atlanta, we talk about MLK all the time.
Right.
Because it's here. You know what I'm saying?
Them 3 we fluent with.
Right.
Martin, Rose.
Don't know nothing about the rest.
Well,
and you're right,
slavery.
though. It's slavery.
You gotta throw slavery in the
we don't talk anything beyond that. We don't talk about the birthing farms. We don't talk about how that wasn't like the plantations and the production of that plantation with people, like that was their crop.
But I'm not discrediting slavery. I know that's a part of our history, but I wish they stop when they do teach our history. Quit putting this as the forefront. Like this is all of our history.
Yes,
Joy says it all the time. When we start letting our kids who they truly are, giving them representation that they were kings and queens, I think that will open up some of our kids' eyes and be like, oh, that was us. It's just the reality of it. They do not know who they were. And if you know who you are, then you would be a better person, in my opinion.
If you know where you've come from, it's a lot easier to figure out where you're going. The other part of it is, I think, in media, because I know we tapped into this before, but in media, a lot of our history gets kind of you start to see lesser and lesser melanated people playing roles that are where the people they're representing would have been looking like us. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you've been doing that.
I don't care how you try to say
right. Egypt is in Africa, but somehow everybody in there look like this side of my hand. I just don't understand how it is when you're how do you do that? But that is something that happens, and we push our kids to that, right? Like we would talk about our Black Jesus, and it's like, yeah, because in reality, no, he would not have looked like the one that's on the wall at everybody's grandmama house. You know what I'm saying?
Like John B. with that wet and wave.
Right. And I'm like, that is not how he would have, like, even if you read your Bible, that ain't what they talk about. My skin brass. You know what brass look like?
I don't think we have the time.
It's really bad.
It's so deep. It's a rabbit hole. I think that our history is very unique. The African diaspora is very unique.
Yes.
You know, everything is on a timeline. I relate it to watching a movie. You wouldn't start a movie in the middle. You would go to the beginning. But again, and I've said this 100 times, if you teach our children who they were pre-slavery, you would have to teach European history, like for real. Not the European history that we think with the medieval times and the Renaissance and all of that type of stuff. You got to look in the Macbeth and the
Shakespeare and all that.
Galileo. We have to look at who taught them and then what state these people were in before the Moors got to them.
Oh my goodness.
But that's some heavy stuff.
They don't want to talk about the eating at the slums and the sewer running down the, we don't want to talk about that.
Our kids need their representation, and they're not going to get it in the school books. That's just the reality of it. We're not coming to school. We're not teaching anything about the Moors. We're not teaching anything about how, as a people, we taught people mathematics. We taught people how to take care of themselves. Like we were really masters. And we're not going to teach that in school. Now, when we do have the Black History program, the first thing we want to talk about is, we talk about slavery. We're going to talk about Martin Luther King. We're going to talk about the Coretta Scott King, the Coretta Kings. Rosa Parks. Not to take anything from any of them because we are where we are because of the courageousness that they showed. Right. But it's just so much more that we can introduce our kids to. It's just so much more.
Do you think it's safe though? Let me elaborate on my question. Do you think that in schools, the goal is to just play it safe because they're trying to soften the blow? That's what it feels like. It feels like one more thing that's kind of just done softly, if that makes sense. Like, we don't want to get too deep because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. And we don't want to be offensive to the others.
If it's Black History Month, what better time than to pull out all these?
But they only feed you
it's why would you actually go for the jugular type of thing? Because again, they don't really push Malcolm. Malcolm was very radical. Yeah. And he wasn't about, he was more so about like getting it done by any means necessary. Correct. It was more like a war type of mentality. When I taught social studies, you're talking about softening the blow. We talk about slavery in South America and the Caribbean, but they don't talk about the Haitian Revolution, which I think is asinine because how in the world can you not talk about the Haitian Revolution and then talk about slavery within those areas? Yes. So when you're talking about Black history, you don't want to empower or to give people a warrior type of mindset because then you begin to think, okay, some things aren't right. And then you begin to say, okay, well, if these people were able to revolt and stand up, I could probably do the same thing. If you have one person with that mentality, and then it's a whole conglomerate, a whole population of people with that, you won't stand a chance. We are very, very powerful people. We are powerful when together. We have that collective mentality. And you start talking about the Moors and Mansa Musa and the Haitian Revolution. Those things are very empowering. They're not so cookie cutter. And they're not so cute, but we're not in a position where we are being tortured and harmed and hurt. We're in a position of power. And that is what I believe from being in the educational school system is what people don't want our kids to know.
So I'm glad you said that, because we're not. The idea of the goal was not. I don't think that the way that Black history is taught in our curriculum is the goal is not to empower students. The goal is to just say, we exposed you to this. We said it was Black History Month. And that's the goal. Like we can check this box as Black History Month. We can't not do it. We said Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks. You did your coloring sheet. Check mark the box. It was done. But because them color sheets are serious. But I think you bring a good point, because you're talking about times where family was at the center, where families joined together, where there was multiple family units, and we're not just talking mom and dad. We're talking about grandparents, aunt and uncles, when we were united as a people. And to your point, we are stronger together. So now you start to talk through. You have to also entertain the concept of breaking down the family unit, because I do think there is a real and has been a real intentional attack on Black families to break them down, because the enemy knows you best, right? If I want to break you down, how better to do it than to remove your head, right? So take the men out of the household, break the families down, change the narrative, make women feel like they have to do it all. We've talked about this. And then now you see chaos, right? And then we talk about, okay, now we're teaching the kids Black history. Why is it important to them? Well, why is it? Why should it be? Times don't look the same to them.
Well,
exactly.
I think, it's still up to us to introduce them and instill this, because if we don't have Black History Month programs at the school, it's not like the kids are going to ask for it. Maybe some of them, but not all. But our kids need to be happy. They need to be wanting to learn about that history, just like the Hispanics participate.
Well, they can't wait for that month.
They can't wait for that month. They have Hispanic Heritage Night. We need to have those things too. Just not, here we are on the 20th. We have the Black History program. No, it needs to have something celebrated every day, just like these other heritage have their day. This is our day. This is our time to show up and show out. And we need to be fully participated. And your child should not be learning about Black folk. I'm going to say it that way. And when they get to the school, this is things that you need to be introducing them. We talk about reading all the time. Put this in front of them. It don't have to be a big old book. You can get passages from the website to introduce them who, all these creators that are African American. Your kids need to be exposed to these people. And I don't know. I don't know why.
They expose it. That's it.
I think
they have slave movies. Yeah. Starting in February. We got the slave movies. Y'all don't want that?
28 days.
You don't want the slave
29
movies?
this year. 29 days.
Is that not good enough?
Being oppressed. Look at the poor
you are
saying,
constantly seeing.
And wait, and then the white savior. Don't forget, somebody white got to come save you. Oh my God.
We're getting our behinds kicked on screen. And
that's what we feed our kids. And then the white man
brings me to the next question. So I know that we been predominantly in Black and Hispanic, Black and brown schools. What do you think the Black History Month looks like in predominantly white schools? Do
what
they
it looks
celebrate
like
that?
at my school, because I graduated from a...
Did y'all celebrate it?
More than I've ever done as an adult.
Really?
Wow.
More than I've ever done as an adult. They really pushed... In my high school, every year. That was a thing. It was a thing. We had a class. We got stuff sent home. But first of all, I'll say again, at my not predominantly Black school, Black history was a regular conversation. So it wasn't wait till February to start the conversation. It was, if Black folks were part of the conversation, Black folks was part of the conversation.
Okay.
It wasn't just we studied. So
you're saying that
I'm gonna say my school, because my school,
high school that you were that you graduated from, there was a Black conversation every single day.
If it was part of the curriculum, so if it made sense for Blacks to be centered.
Okay, so let's look at it now. You still have school age kids, and those kids, would you say the school is predominantly white?
It's not that school now. No, It's not predominantly like my same school is not predominantly white now.
I need to see what that looks like.
It was wonderful. I'm gonna tell you,
but
now,
I'm not.
it's wonderful.
You know what?
Like my niece goes to my school
I'm not gonna doubt you on that because when I get ready to go to like plantations, these historical places, I see a great bit of
really
other people.
Yeah,
really
because it's But the thing is, it's not like
they know
it
more
wasn't
about
taboo.
Yes.
Well, I know
it's part
that.
of their history too.
It is.
But but is it coming from a place of? I wonder if they would have that same interest if, let's say, if we did a tour on, I don't know, Hatshepsut or something like that. If we went to Kemet and we actually did, because they do have tours about her, but I don't know if it's really pushed as saying this is a black woman.
Oh, they ain't gonna talk about that.
Like how would they?
Because when she in the movie, she peach.
Right. Well, I'll say this: when I went to high school and we did our Egyptian studies, I do remember that we did talk about how they were black. Like I remember my very pasty white teacher.
They'll tell the truth.
He was like, these are
at high school.
At my high school. We talked about Egypt. I went there for a year, and then I went to Douglas County. So you said the one I graduated from, it was white. It was a white high school at the time.
I went to
where
we had the Black History program. That's all I can tell you.
When we did our Egyptian studies, girl.
Egyptian.
First of all,
when
we did that,
I remember. Y'all didn't call me nothing like that in school.
I remember my teacher said, "Close the book. We're gonna watch a video."
Which I
don't remember what the movie was called. All I know was it was just a whole bunch of like black people, and they were just dressed so pretty.
About Booker T. Washington.
They was dressed like royalty, like pretty, but they looked like me. And I remember that my teacher did. He was young. He was a young, fresh out of college teacher now, so he might have been doing some different stuff. But I remember him showing us this clip. It wasn't even that long. I don't know what it was called. It was like a 10-minute thing.
Oh, like a little clip, right?
Yeah, but because that was important to me. That was something that it's something that sticks out because it's different, right? I was sitting in my middle of my history class, and he was like, "Look at this," and it went along with our lesson. I don't know what the lesson was on, but the video sticks out because I was like, "Dang, look at all these pretty black people! Like that's different." You know what I mean? Because that's not what we. To your point, that's not what we see typically. I got lucky.
The first story in history I ever heard of this.
Well, again, I would say it was his first year teaching at the time. Yeah. We ain't gonna age me, but it's his first year teaching, so he might have been doing some new stuff. I'm sure it was part of the curriculum.
Or it could have been.
But I think it was, to me, I would say for me, how impactful would that be if everybody had that same experience? Right. Where some teacher was like, bump the curriculum, let me show you something else. Let me show you a different narrative.
Or not bump the curriculum when I'm teaching you for language arts and there's a passage to read about Nelson Mandela, you actually know who it is.
That really hurts you. That hurts you.
That really hurts you.
I feel like this.
Or has it hurt you that that's been my answer all day?
How are you this black and don't know who Nelson Mandela is?
I mean, a lot of people don't know. Like,
and they don't care.
That's the bare minimum.
They don't care and they don't know. Because like you said, you're supposed to learn these things at the house.
Yeah.
Before you get to school.
Are they still teaching the...
I'm just saying no, and I don't even know the question.
Look,
I mean, they're supposed to be learning about the apartheid in
they're
grade.
like Nikki said, they're pulling books out of the school. It's the same. It's literally like the same thing that they've done throughout history. Whether it's burning the books in Spain, Granada, is taking the books out of Alexandria and burning those books. Is pulling the books out, giving them to other religious officials. Is taking the book. It's literally holding on to knowledge because it's so powerful. Yes. If we don't push it within our households, then literally nobody's going to tell you the truth. They're going to lie.
If I keep the knowledge from you, everyone knows the first thing they want to do is take the knowledge from the children. The children grow up not knowing, and that is information lost. That's the point.
You can control
to take it away. Exactly. Because you can train them. What they say, the mind is moldable. The younger you are,
they know you ain't picking up.
Ain't nothing there. Ain't nothing there to pick up. So now we got a house full of iPads. I'm guilty. iPads, cell phones. Well, we got a lot of books in my house. I ain't go front, but that's what we're putting in front of our kids.
If you do have an iPad, go to
because Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Look up me 5 black inventors.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is instead of that, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Watch. That's what you've given to our children. That's what's given to them. Watch this.
MIC,
Don't do that. Do this.
KEY.
You know? But you know what I'm saying? We're not giving them what they need. We're not doing it because that's more work. It's more work to have to explain to you why this is so impactful than it is for you to be like, go watch SpongeBob for 30 minutes, leave me be.
Dang.
All I want is my people to have the same energy they have for St. Patty's Day.
Ooh.
Cinco de Mayo.
Hello.
Don't hit me
4th
like
of
that.
July.
I show like some St. Patrick's Day.
I need you to have this same, when February rolls around, I need y'all to be out there with that
In the
same
streets.
energy that y'all have on other people's holiday. And I like culture. Everybody know I love culture.
Same.
But
I think we all do, yeah.
you got to learn about who you are first before you be trying to learn about somebody else.
Ooh,
That's
it. That's the soundbite right
you
there.
don't.
You
I
need
think
to do
you
that.
don't know what you don't know, and you have to have pride in yourself.
And curiosity, though.
But what are you being curious about if you don't know what to be curious about? Because all we have, for the most part, is slavery.
No,
And a little civil rights.
I'm tired of
Listen.
slave ship.
But that's what I'm saying. But we have to, I think that curiosity is what drives invention, right? Where's the rest of it? So
But
we
you
have to start
the desire to be curious.
and that's why we have to start passing that information along. So we have to take our grandparents, like for us, our grandparents and our parents, and take the information we learn from them and pass it to our children, and not be ashamed of our history and not gatekeep it or not try to soften the blow, and just be real about it, but also take our kids to the library or explain to them that Egyptians are Black. They are not European.
And teachers, you can implement your kids learning about history in the classroom. So for those of you who do not know, I'm a ELA teacher. So for my students, mostly in the past, I mean, I still do journal entries, but I used to do a thing where I do quick writes. It's kind of hard for me to do it right now because the kids are not up to part with writing. But what I used to do in the past is a quick write. I would put a prompt on the board. It may be, who is Frederick Douglass? Just for an example. And the kids will have to use the race strategy to respond to the prompt.
Oh, okay.
So those are ways that we're not taking up the whole time, but they're getting a piece of that learning experience. They're learning about it's anybody that's thrown up on the board, and they have to actually go on the computer and research it and respond in a constructive response. So there's things that you can do. And we got to do that for Black History Month. No kid should be coming home saying, well, we didn't do anything.
And that it should be implemented throughout the year, no matter what subject that you teach. Yes. I know for me, for science, when I was teaching life science, and we did a unit on cells. So I'm looking through the AKS. Where's I know we're talking about Henrietta Lacks. I just know that she's somewhere. I mean, a woman that completely revolutionized science and medicine. That's all right. I guess I got to create a lesson.
Say the name again so the people will know.
Henrietta Lacks. She had cervical cancer. They took the culture from her cancerous cells, and it just kept growing. And, eventually she changed the way that we do vaccines. And she was just an incredible person. At the time, she didn't know what was going on. But, science eventually used her cells to just create so many different things. And cells, that's the foundation of life. So I was really confused as to why this particular woman was not spoken about, why she wasn't integrated into the lesson. Right. But teachers should not be afraid to create their own lessons.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
And but then again, you don't know what you don't know. So if a teacher doesn't know anything about Henrietta Lacks, then your students your children probably aren't going to get that lesson unless you have a teacher that's knowledgeable.
Right, because I know that we have probably talked about some things that we, not violent things,
right.
But we have talked about people and things that we know our kids are not going to get in the curriculum.
I think you just can't be afraid of that, and you have to find ways to weave it in, because even in math, when I was teaching that, it's like we have we talk about having your students represented in the classroom. I talk about that all the time because I do think it's one of the single most important things that you can do is to look in your classroom and say, okay, these are the types of students, the demographics or whatever that are represented here. They should be seen in the lessons. And if that means, talking about different cultures, different religions, whatever, or just having images that represent them, but positively, like be honest and tell the truth. Obviously, age appropriately, because
right,
a 5th grader and a 10th grader are going to have two totally different needs, right? But don't be afraid to integrate that. It's important, and it's not indoctrination in such a negative, crazy way like people would have you to believe. You just have to realize that you need it, because as a teacher, if you don't know, it's important for you to have that knowledge, because what else don't you know? You know what I mean? How can you truly serve your students if you don't even know anything about them?
And kids want to know engaging things. And I think if they have more engaging topics and people, like you just said, that's in the curriculum that represent them, they will be more prone to want to learn about those type of things. Especially, kids are in music, kids are in sports. Yeah. If they knew back then, some of the inventors, some of the people that did those type of things, of course they're gonna want to learn about it. Yeah, absolutely.
If they knew what they were capable of, they would do more, and they'll continue to go further. I think that we're gonna start to. I hope it doesn't happen, but I do think we're going to start to see more of a regression, because we're not showing them as much. But I'm hoping that things like our podcast and as you guys are in the classroom, that won't be the case. But it just feels like, all we get is ski. So, that's the Black history. That's not what I want it to be, but that's what it feels like. That's what they're looking at. Again, just being fair. That's what they're seeing.
The bills. That's parents pay. These kids don't have a job.
Nope.
You are the parent.
Yeah.
I don't have children, and I know that. Yeah. You all have kids. You monitor what your kids watch.
Some of these kids telling the parents what to do.
Trying to tell you, and beating the teachers at the same time. You're right. That's a different episode. You're right. That's a different episode.
So teachers, don't be afraid to get in the classroom and implement the things that teach the lessons that you feel. If you can add something else to the lesson that can impact your students from a cultural perspective, then just do it. Yeah, just do it. Yeah. They want to know.
Don't allow anyone to tell you, oh, it's Black History Month. We Black History 365 days we are, but you're gonna celebrate them 28 days.
29.
Oh yeah.
Just like it's a national month. You're gonna get in there and celebrate your time, just like every other culture celebrate their time.
Oh yeah.
Chinese got the Chinese New Year. Hispanics got the Heritage Month. Asians got not the Asians, but who y'all said, the Indian people?
Pacific Islanders got
they got that. It's your day. It's your month.
It's your time to shine. Put that Vaseline on and get moving. And the cocoa butter.
Lord,
the shea butter.
The shea butter. Oh yeah, get that shea butter out.
Somebody close this out, please.
All right. Well, thank you so much for chiming in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Realtors of Atlanta. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. We're doing Black Friday sign. We out.
Bye.
Hey, if you enjoyed our show today and would like to see more content like this, make sure you follow and like our YouTube channel at Real Teachers of Atlanta.
We got the queens in the house, y'all.